Welcome to Fintech Perspectives. My name is Terry Angelos. I focus on fintech at Visa, and this is an ongoing series where we get to meet and share with you some of the incredible clients that we work with. So today I'm joined by the team at Simba, which is focused on banking for immigrants. We have Clare Seekins, who runs customer insights and marketing, and Simon Tiemtore, who's the co-founder and CEO. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Terry. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'd love to kick off, maybe with you, Simon. You have this, fascinating background from Burkina Faso, which is a landlocked French colony. So I'm curious what was your immigrant journey, and how did you land up in the fintech ecosystem?
I'm indeed from Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, West Africa, which is a little tiny country in West Africa, a landlocked country indeed, a former French colony. I mean, I've been in the US for 20 plus years. Like most immigrants, my journey has been defined by income mobility, seeking a better perspective for myself and my family. And I first came into this country to go to school. And when I landed in the US, lo and behold, I was quite surprised by the complexity of the financial landscape. And I didn't know where to go. I have to open a bank account, get established and be settled financially. And I realized in order for me to, have an apartment, access to loans, I had to establish credit. And I did not have any credit. I was credit invisible, so to speak. And the community, the Burkina Faso community that welcomed me when I first came into the US, essentially held my hand to walk me into my US journey the first time I came into this country. So it's very complex and it's very difficult. And I and 50 plus million immigrants that lives in the US still face the same hurdle.
So Clare, can you give us some background? How did you and Simon meet up, and what was your journey to financial services?
So I actually got my start in community organizing right out of school. Quickly realized politics wasn't really the best route for me, so shifted into kind of economic development and business building. So I worked with a couple different incubators and accelerators, largely in Latin America. I've lived in Latin America for about 3 years of my life. But the past 7 years or so, I really focused on developing and deploying customer insight-oriented inclusive financial services. And so that's what I was doing through design and innovation consulting work, kind of value proposition development around specific populations and communities, when I met Simon and Josh about 3 years ago.
Well, great. And I take it you speak Spanish, Simon speaks French. When you argue with each other, which is the language that you guys use the most?
Depends if we're trying to agree or not.
Fair enough. Part of this conversation came up. We were having a discussion about the rise of credit last week with a company called Nova Credit, which, as you know, is a credit passporting service that allows folks to import their credit history from multiple countries, which obviously didn't exist 20 years ago when you came to the US, or 25 years ago when I came to the US. And one of my comments was, every immigrant should show up with a debit card. And so I know you and your co-founders emailed me and said, hey, Terry, we actually already have that product. So I'm very excited to talk about that. I don't know, Clare or Simon, if you can chat more about how you guys are addressing some of these challenges that immigrants face.
Yeah, I think the way we address is as follows. We enable any immigrant that first come into the US to open a bank account with us. We simplify the process by enabling anyone with a government issue ID and a permanent US address to have a bank account and a debit card. And on the back of it, we will establish credit at some point. We'll offer a credit product because I think, as you mentioned, every immigrant potentially must have access to debit.
If I was coming into the US today, what are some of the challenges that I might experience and some of the ways that you guys are helping with that?
You got to come into the country and navigate the financial landscape, and somebody's got to guide you. And most of the time, it's the community that's guiding you. So, you first learn from the community who hold your hands and essentially make some of the recommendation where you go open your bank account, where do you live, where do you go to school, and things like that. So the journey hasn't changed much. I mean, the struggle is still there. The difficulties of navigating to the U.S. financial landscape is still complex. And we're solving that issue by not only providing debit from the onset to those that are coming in, giving them the ability to establish credit, but also providing a financial literacy program to help them learn a little bit more about the U.S. financial landscape, which is very complex for those that are coming in, especially if you're coming in the country and you don't speak English.
Yeah, I'll just add to that real quick. So yeah, as Simon mentioned, I mean, over the past year and a half, we have spoken to between 250 to 300 immigrants in the New York area, and his story resonates. It's surprisingly similar. One reason there's a huge gap in the market is that you design for what you know, and banks just don't know this population very well. They aren't served in a very kind of systematic way. We're hoping to not just capture the kind of banking behaviors of immigrants, but all their financial behaviors across the board. So we don't just want to replace their bank, we want to replace their bank and their remittance provider and where they're going for loans, be it predatory or not. There are kind of off-book, informal, cash-based lending systems in the community. So we want to bank them kind of holistically, whereas the banks right now are only seeing a real sliver of the activity. And then I'll also say, like, what's really fascinating about this population is it's inherently an economic journey, right? They're economically motivated to move here, to create opportunity for themselves and for loved ones, and they don't have an economic partner, right? So they come here and are huge knowledge gaps around what their kind of available resources are, how the systems work, and there's no clear place to go.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and certainly very consistent with some of the other companies that we talk with that actually focus on immigrants. So Simon, can you walk through a little bit of what the financial services products are that you guys will be bringing to market?
Yeah, we'll have first a basic DDA account tied with a debit card and a remittance platform that will enable us to send money in 200 countries eventually and 80 currency. In addition to that, one of the unique products that the community use on a day-to-day basis, which is untapped by the global community banking community, what's called a rotational saving clubs, or ROSCA. It's used by all walk of life of immigrants. It's called by the West African isusu. It's called in French tontine. The Spanish call it tanda. The Jamaicans call it partner's hand. The Asian call it something else in their own language, but all immigrants use it. In essence, the way it works is, a group of people, let's say 4 people will come together, and they will invite, it's based on trust, they will invite each other to create a group, to form a group, and they will contribute, let's say every 3 months, $1,000. And then one person will take the entire pot. And what the rotational saving clubs does for the community, essentially, it's a tool for them to have liquidity because they don't have access to credit. It's a group saving vehicle that's created that the community use today to fund the SMEs. That's how bodegas are funded in New York. That's how cab drivers buy the medallion in New York. That's how a Uber driver buy his Uber car to work for Uber or Lyft. So it's an untapped vehicle that the community use on top of the banks today. So which is something that we'll be providing and putting in the hands of the community in a digital format. And that will enable people to invite anyone across the globe to essentially participate through Simba in the rotational saving clubs. One of the assets that the entire immigrant community has is cash, because we're all working, we have our earnings, but we don't have access to credit. So we'll create essentially a cash-based lending to enable people to build credit over time and have access to a larger pool of credit from another institution, so to speak. So in a nutshell, it will be basic banking tied to a debit card, a remittance platform, which is free, global free remittance with no markup in FX for anyone that joins Simba. A rotational saving clubs, which is a group saving vehicle that enable folks to invite their friends and family to save together for specific purposes. And then a loan product, which will have a different components such as remit now, pay later, or lending to people to participate into a rotational saving club.
That's fascinating. Thank you. I think savings clubs are something that we've heard about, but never quite seen that as part of a traditional banking ecosystem. So very excited to see how you guys are bringing that to market and then adding your own lending on top of that. Can you chat a little bit more about some of the financial literacy tools that you guys have developed?
So our real focus, which we think is aligned with kind of the thought leadership in the ecosystem right now, is really on financial health. So ensuring that your customers are financially healthy is not just the right thing to do, but it makes them better customers for us as well, right? So people are able to save and achieve their goals. That's better for us and better for them. So we've been talking with the Financial Health Network about incorporating some of their kind of leading indicators of financial health into our product so we can keep tabs on our customers' financial health and then nudge them in the right direction as they go. We have, a real ambition for what this looks like in the future. At our, kind of nascent micro version of launch, what this looks like is a partnership with Operation Hope, because they're focused on financial coaching, which, given the research in the industry, we really think is the only way to really move the needle. It is a resource intensive, but it works a lot better than just offering some downloads on your website and hoping people read it and change their behavior.
Actually, can you say a little bit more about Operation Hope? I haven't heard about that program before.
So they have financial coaches that offer one-on-one coaching. Well, they have had to adapt, obviously, in the past year to do a lot of virtual coaching as well. So they'll offer larger workshops as well as one-on-one opportunities. And what they are really good at is also partnering kind of with the existing infrastructure of communities. So they'll host coaching sessions in the lobbies or classrooms or basements of existing organizations. And so ideally what we love to do is get some of our community ambassadors trained as financial coaches and have them able to host office hours for our customers as well.
Got it. And so you have your own set of what you call community ambassadors. Can you explain what those folks do? Like
Simon mentioned earlier, the community is a huge part of every immigrant's experience, right? Correct. So it is their main source of resources and knowledge across the board, not just financially, but for everything, for jobs, for advice, for health services, for everything. So it's really critical to us that we layer on to that existing social infrastructure for our bank, really, to deliver our services. So we're looking at more of like a community health type model of delivery than we are kind of your traditional brick and mortar. So our vision for community ambassadors is they really become the front lines of our bank. And then maybe just on a similar sort of path, how are you planning to go to market? So if I'm a new immigrant having arrived in the country, how do I hear about Hello Simba?
We're not only servicing an incoming immigrant, right? So we're also servicing primarily immigrants that lives in the U.S., the 52 million, that the 20% of the U.S., the 20% that represent the U.S. population are currently established here in the U.S. As Clare mentioned, that we don't want to displace the primary bank, but we want Simba to be the secondary bank partner and eventually the primary bank partner. And that community where we're embedded to the community ambassador, where we establish and building trust, are the one essentially recommending us to those that are incoming. So the recommendation comes essentially from the community that already lives here. So if we're able to provide them great services here and make their life easier here, they will recommend Hello Simba to their friends and family that are coming into the US. Certainly we will advertise across the border. But we also rely more so on a community that communicate with folks that are coming in. And I think one of the services naturally that will be a line of communication for us, for the community globally, it's essentially our remittance platform, our remittance services, because folks will be using our remittance services to send money to Simba to their friends and family back home. So if one of those persons will want to come to the US, they will also have access directly to Simba as a bank account holder.
Yeah, that's terrific. Maybe I could just ask you, how are you guys using Visa and Visa Rails today as you go to market?
Look, Visa has been a strategic partner of us since, as a network. First of all, we sign up with Visa to power the Simba brand and by issuing Visa card and in any other Visa product that Visa's out there. And so we're leveraging Visa Direct to essentially be connected to the 17,000 banks that Visa is connected to through its network globally and in 200 countries, and give us the ability to send money in 80 currencies. And the fact that Visa has acquired Herfport and will soon deploy what's called the Unified API, that will enable us to send money only to 3 billion existing cards worldwide, which means also sending money to 3 billion bank accounts worldwide. I think that's a pretty sweet partnership that we have with Visa.
Well, we certainly love clients like you who are, sort of able to take advantage of the global reach. And as you mentioned, Visa Direct is certainly a product that's making it very easy to send funds, cross-border in a way that you're guaranteed to get delivery on the other side, and the pricing is is well below the sort of standard remittance model. Well, guys, thank you so much. I think I'm going to sort of turn to just a couple of lightning round questions, and then I can maybe ask these. You can each give me your answer, or you can sort of alternate. I'll let you decide. Let me start with you, Simon. What do you think is most misunderstood about your market?
I think what's most misunderstood is the fact that the immigrant community is a viable and thriving economic force in the U.S. People sort of overlooked the immigrant community and not realizing that we earn an average $1.5 trillion in terms of earning. We save more than $600 billion in the U.S. banking system. And the remittance market, which is solely fueled by immigrants, represents a $690 billion market. 300 billion leave the U.S. every year. And all of the companies that people rave about in the gig economy, whether it's Postmates, Uber, Lyft, and things like that DoorDash, are mostly fueled by immigrants. So I think we're overlooked and underbanked and underserved, so to speak, and no banks or no financial institution speaks to immigrants to their financial need, apart from the pure play remittance companies.
Can I add?
How about you?
I would say, and this is broader than just immigrants, but one of the biggest biases, both societally and institutionally in the financial services system, is that people that don't have money are bad with money and are poor money managers, and that is just absolutely not true. People that need to make their money stretch know exactly how to manage it and exactly how much gas $12 will put in their tank. They are excellent money managers, and they just need to have the opportunity to understand how to leverage the system a little better.
Yeah, and that's certainly been our experience with some of our clients who are focused on underserved markets as well. Claire, sticking with you, what would you describe as your most magical payment experience?
I'm not going to say this is the most magical experience, but one innovation that I think is easily overlooked is just the way that Amazon streamlined the payment into a pay now button, and how taking steps away from the process really improves everybody's experience.
Simon, how about yourself? Your most magical payment experience?
It's Amazon. She's right. I mean, the head of the curve, that one click can get you. Next thing you know, you already pay for it.
All right. What advice would you give to a new fintech founder just starting up right now?
I would say the future of, I think, fintech is understanding that nothing in financial services has been customer centric so far. Customers don't think in terms of products. Customers don't think in terms of revenue streams. They think in terms of their money. And so an ecosystem approach, understanding your customers' needs and partnering with people who are also meeting their needs, I think it's only going to further integrate you into their lives in a necessary way. So thinking about really customer first approach.
I will look at it from a business standpoint in terms of what I would do if I were starting a fintech company. I would probably try to solve some of the regulatory pain point that we currently see today. It's very difficult to crack. It's untapped, and there's a huge potential out there. Also, there's a huge potential on the payment side, as you mentioned. ACH is hold, and there lay some of the opportunities for anyone who wants to do fintech.
Well, Claire and Simon, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate your perspective, and we are looking forward to your future success.
Thank you very much, Terry.